I'm back from Arlington, baby. I missed dry air. Man. Oh, but you know what you missed? Do you know what you missed?
The entirety of the Arlington Major?
I mean, not much.
Casting in front of an audience?
Yeah, I mean, well, I didn't want to, that feels below the belt for me to say that. That feels really, really inappropriate. Anywho,
Missed all the socializing that was happening at the first U.S. major in 5 years.
You probably missed getting COVID, and you missed how great the crowd was for the grand finals. And that's what you missed. You didn't miss anything if you were a fan of Liquid, or if you were a fan of Outsiders.
Holy fuck, there are so many things to talk about. All
Dude,
right,
it's been a week. What do we do?
We were talking about the podcast and saying Joey's going to go there and figure out whether or not Liquid is going to do okay. And, well, turned out that was not the case. They didn't do so okay.
Yeah, I think I mentioned last time that I was going and I had to be the cameraman because Dennis got COVID. Uh-huh. And so that happened. I arrive on the scene with my camera, and I'm like, hey, everybody, I haven't done this in a while. I'm going to film a vlog. I'm just blending with the team. And instead of having some yuck fun times, we had some QQ sad times, like a lot of really, really, really sad times. Have you ever driven in a car with, say, 10 people for 15 minutes and just complete silence? Complete silence, and gazing out the window as if the world is just passing you by, because I have never had a more uncomfortable car ride in my entire life than after game 3 when they were eliminated to get no money and no points and not qualify for TI.
Yeah, I can imagine that one was rough. Can't say I've experienced that exactly. No.
Oh, man, no one was at the venue when we were playing. The crowd was Jabs, Blitz, Chloe, team manager, myself with a camera filming Blitz, Alex, Cheapstick when she wasn't, backstage, and Stormer, who was hanging out with us. There were 5 people in the crowd, and I no one told us that we couldn't cheer. No one told us that we couldn't make noise in the crowd, apparently. So in the middle of game 2, when we're starting to win, I'm going fuck yeah, let's fucking kill him, get him, Aiden, fucking get him. and I don't know, if I was picking up on Lyrical's mic or something, but the PGL people are coming out and they're like, no. I'm like, oh, whatever. I didn't see any no hooting and hollering signs, but that's cool.
Weird, but okay. Who? All right, whatever.
It doesn't matter. Real roller coaster of emotions. I'm sure that this is a conversation I'm sure is going to be solved with the Cap and Blitz quarterly podcast where we talk about what's happened.
Oh, I'm not sure if I want to do one of those anytime soon. That doesn't sound like a super fun time. I imagine the group that you were hanging out with mostly was a lot of sadness and a lot of drinking and a lot of going out and doing things that were anything but Dota.
No. Most of the players just wanted to play Warcraft 3 or watch anime or be sad in their own different ways. We did get some of them to go to Six Flags. That was fun. They all did a Muay Thai kickboxing class a couple days after they lost, which a lot of them felt really, really good about. They had reporting that helped. We did do some drinking. I bought a non-zero amount of alcohol. It
was on the company card, right?
John, no. John and Victor, it was not on the company card. Please don't listen to the podcast. Please don't know some more.
Sound like proper expenses to for
therapy.
Good therapy for the team.
Dude, it was rough. Okay, so I've been to 2 esports events post-COVID, and both of them were crushing, absolutely crushing. I went to the LCS event where the team got 3rd place when they were supposed to win, and I went to this where we needed to win one fucking series against Boom. to go to TI, and we didn't do that either. So, I haven't been having the best string of luck with going to these tournaments currently. It is not great. It's not great. It's not great.
Is that why you're wearing an EG shirt today?
So I took for context, this is a classic EG shirt. This is a vintage StarCraft 2 EG shirt, old logo. And I brought it because when I was making content, I thought it could potentially be funny to wear it in like some capacity. And by this morning when I had to fly back, it was the only shirt that I had left. So I'm like, well, I'm taking the plane. And then I walk on the plane and fucking like LGD are there and Blitz and Chloe are there and Lyrical's there. And they're like, why are you wearing an EG shirt? And I'm like, this is a long story. We all went back to LA today. It was, dude.
Did you have a decision-making process there where you were like, did you hold up the clean EG shirt and then like hold up some dirty other shirt? And
clean
it was
shirt.
Like,
It was either clean shirt or sleeveless shirt at the airport, and I didn't want that. I mean, there's kids around, right?
Right. Yeah, can't be bringing those guns to the airport.
Other thank you. Other major stories. Probably one of the best things that happened, and I don't want to overstate something, but I think I'm friends with X Nova now, and that's really cool because I don't think he knows how much that I actually like him as a player. So that's dope. He speaks great English.
Nice.
We had a good time hanging out. And had a great time seeing so many new and old talent and friends for the first time. There's a lot of NA Dota people who just came because it was the first event in a while, and there was a lot of people. There was literally probably like close to 24 people who were like, "Hey man, really like Sidepull. Wish Cap was here."
Nice.
And I'm like,
nice.
yeah, kind of fuck him. But can you say that part about liking the show again? And that was because this is like
you
the
got
first,
it all on recording, right?
Basically, yes, including me nagging you. It's the first time that like there's been an event that I've been to since we started doing this, and it didn't even cross my mind that probably more people would want to do that or sign something or just talk about the show and say thanks. And I went through this weird like phase where at the beginning I started just being self-deprecating about it. I'm like, oh, why do you listen to that piece of shit? Oh, bad. And then I realized that that's not actually the response people wanted, and it's like almost rude. So I've been trying to get better at just saying thank you. And if I did, this is a very public apology. There's a small handful of people. If I did make you feel uncomfortable by just talking down about the show or myself or Austin, I'm sorry. I was just being socially awkward. Genuinely, thank you for saying hi.
See, I get people to tell me all that all the time at events or on my stream. They always say, say hi to Joey for me. I never pass any of this on to you, though.
This is the first time he's ever done this. Yes, this isn't a bit.
I gotta keep your ego in check.
The event itself was, how do I say this without flaming PGL?
Oh, I thought you were going to say really good because the crowd seemed really good and the games are really good. So,
that helps so much. That helps so much. And actually, that's one of the really big takeaways. I don't know if the crowd was that spectacular until the last day. The last day they were really hot. They were really hot, especially with how crazy and fun Game 2 was. Like that got people's juices flowing. And I think that by nature of people seeing Spirit play on stage for the first time, that the venue skewed a little bit more Spirit than LGD, which was also super, super cool. I think that the venue experience is really poor. And this is not going to be like news to anybody who's read Reddit at all. But
yeah, I saw the picture of the way in the back of the stadium, what it looks like. For some of those spots, it's if I was there, I would leave. I would just be like, all right, this is pointless. If you have a better view looking at it on your phone.
Correct. And people were watching their phone if they were sitting in the back of the room, which is crazy because it's like a 5 to 10 second delay. But if you were not in the front half of the room, really, you were going to have really, really struggles through the screen. So much so that as the days went on, people started lining up earlier and earlier and earlier. So like the first day, people come around close to door time, right? They're like, okay, yeah, it's Friday, like we're getting into it. Okay, we don't need to like line up queue super early. It's whatever. Some people lined up obviously, but like it's not going to be a big thing, right? Then I think everybody realized the screen situation. And then Saturday people come in and they're like, hey, everybody, we gotta get there early, gotta get a good seat. And by the time Sunday rolls around, there's just a fucking line. People were queuing for hours just to get good seats. Like they were showing up at the venue, which opened at 8:30, like an hour and a half before the games. They were showing up like some of them I heard before 7. Just to go get good seats and then wait there for hours. So that was a thing. The audio mixing in the arena was pretty shite. All of the ads were like 20 to 30 decibels louder than everything else. So anytime the breaks came on, like you know that Secret Lab commercial where they're like,
vaguely, yeah,
super loud, super fucking loud. And my favorite commercial, I don't know if you watched the ads or if you were able to like eject them all from your brain, was the Gigi Bet one, because we all started going around and being like, gamers call it silky skills. That was a good meme for the event.
I think I always have the ads muted.
It's so bad.
Anytime, so I've only seen them. I don't think I've heard them.
So bad, dude. There wasn't. I wish. And I think that this point of feedback is coming because the other event that I've been to was the Riot event in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that Dota events had more.
Oh, it was like same venue, right?
A different venue. The Riot one was in like the arena in Houston, and this was in like a convention center.
Right. Sorry.
I wish that they had like a fan zone. I wish that they had a fan zone because the concourse for the event just had like a couple of sponsors, like the Bitcoin sponsor. It had like a couple of PCs that Sony set up where you can queue up and play Dota, and then it has like a really, really bad merch table. And I would have loved to have had like team jerseys at the merch shop, or just to be able to have like Liquid and EG or whoever cared enough to like have a little table out there where you could, do a meet and greet, make some signs, just activate, like do something for the fans. And there really wasn't much for the fans at all. There wasn't even really like official signings. They were like super loose. So I think that my biggest point of critique is, aside from like the size of the screen, was that there wasn't a lot to do.
Yeah, that sort of thing is really important. I feel like I never realized how important it was because the very first LAN I'd ever been to was ESL One Frankfurt.
Mm-hmm.
And that was obviously, this is like this big like carnival type deal where there's just a shit ton of booze in this like soccer stadium. And you walk through them in order to get to where the seats are and where the actual stage is and stuff. And I didn't realize like how important that aspect is until much later, much later. And now I realize, like, because I can't think of like how many times, when have I really gone to a LAN event just to attend? I think almost never, maybe never. I'm not sure if I've ever done that. I've gone as like press where I've done like the interviews and stuff. But that was like for DreamHacked, which is another example of like a carnival type feel. There's shit tons of things that are going on there you can check out. So when it comes to these like Dota tournaments or esports tournaments in general, like they are long days. You need something to be able to spice it up. And I feel like if I was a fan ever going to one of these events, I would make sure to go to one that I know is going to have not even necessarily like other booze and stuff, but like at least like Birmingham, I think was pretty decent. There's some good areas to walk around close to Birmingham, like outside of the stadium. I feel like that is actually really important because I don't think I want to just sit there the entire time and get blared at by these ads over and over again.
When you were at Benaroya Hall, I mean, this is like old stuff, right? Like,
oh, true.
You're in like downtown Seattle, basically.
Yeah.
So you can go walk to Pike Place. You can go hang out at different places. and yeah, in Arlington, like there's barely even sidewalks where the venue is. You're against like AT&T Stadium and like the Texas Rangers MetLife Stadium, and like there's not like a lot of stuff to do. You are driving in, you are parking, and you are staying pretty stationary for the duration of the games. And there's not a lot of food close by. There's just venue food, which God bless everybody who was eating that. And I think what was exciting to me is that it seemed like there is a proof that America can still sustain a Dota event with like a medium-sized audience. It sold out. The fans cared. Everybody was there. Basically, all the seats were filled, right? I think that if you fix the visa situation, which they're attempting to do with that DPC schedule that leaked, right? If you maybe have a little bit of a different venue, maybe you don't do them too often because you want to continue to like build up a need for them. I don't think that we're done with events like this in North America, and maybe I'm just on some copium because I know that with all the visa problems it seemed like super unlikely that we were going to, but I think the response was super positive. And also I heard that this was like the second most watched Dota major of all time.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I was curious what the numbers would be like. I'm sure PGL will be very, very happy to hear that, especially if they got it over ESL Stockholm. So, in fact, I'm pretty sure the most watched major was PGL major as well. So I'm sure they'll tout that one once the numbers are out and stuff. But yeah, that's unfortunate that that experience wasn't too good. My experience watching online was fine. For the most part, I didn't really notice any of like the big production problems like I did for that CS:GO major that we talked about. And for TI, I mean, there definitely was stuff early on, but I didn't really see anything towards the end of the event. I did notice. I always felt like I think one thing that continually bugged me was that was the crowd loud? I mean, especially on the last day. The
crowd was loud on the last day. I wasn't in the arena the entire time. I was there for the last series and like a couple of games Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, like James Banks and then like sometimes the casters would do a crowd hype up, and I feel like they did not put in the crowd noise as much as they needed to, because that always sounded kind of like a pitiful response. And I noticed that even for like sometimes the last day as well. So that was the only thing that I really noticed. I
got to hang out with Banks a good bit. I would love, maybe we should do this, if he would talk to anybody about his unfiltered comparisons of Dota to Counter-Strike, because I thought it was very funny. It was his first like Dota event, and he was learning a lot about the players and the scene and the idiosyncrasies of Dota as like a business, less of a game, more of like a our ecosystem. And hearing his takes as an outsider was like super interesting. And not my stories to tell, but he was really super swell to talk to, and I'm glad that he was hanging out and vibing with everybody.
Nice. Yeah, that was it was definitely some of those idiosyncrasies you could tell just as like an interviewer you could work out. But talent coming into a new game, it's always going to be difficult. You're always going to have those moments. So I think he did a pretty good job surfing over those issues. I mean, you do what you can. There was one Reddit thread about him, so I felt a little bad about that, but I think he handled it pretty well.
Yeah, but overall, I think the event was a success. I think that by most metrics, aside from me being like kind of pedantic and nitpicky about some of the production stuff, like success. I think that doing a MOBA in an arena that was built for fighting games and like Overwatch definitely presents flaws. I think that if they would have had a second screen like hanging in the middle, like a lot of events do when they have flat convention seating like that, that would have solved the majority of the problems. Because it was just so fun. If you haven't seen the Reddit thread, just like look it up for like pictures of people who are watching from the back. You can't see what's going on. It's like, imagine loading up a Dota replay on your monitor and then walking back about 20 feet. That was about the equivalent of what was going on the big screen in the convention center.
It was really bad. I was definitely like, there's no way I'm sitting in that spot. That is not absolutely worth it. But yeah. What was that? There was something I wanted to be able to talk. Oh yeah, that's right. It was so obvious. Like the first time I had tuned in and I saw the stage, I was just like, Overwatch League.
Yeah.
Because the fucking the setup of the colors that they have, that's so Overwatch League that I just immediately recognized it from the various footage I had seen of those games. But
what did you think about the competitive results of the event?
I mean, honestly, I didn't really find anything super surprising. I almost feel like the most surprising thing was the fact that Spirit won. I think so. That, I definitely thought they were top 4. I thought they would trip up somewhere along the way. I knew that they were going to the grand finals once they beat once Aster beat OG. That's what it was. Because Aster did not look super clean, and I was convinced that Spirit was going to beat Aster and that we were going to see LGD versus Spirit in the grand finals again, and I thought LGD was really going to have that. I mean, LGD 2-0'd them in the upper bracket finals, but Spirit, they got that best of 5 magic, man. They just take it to them again in a grand finals finish. It's pretty crazy, honestly. And I love the fact, I think my favorite story of all of that was the fact that there were so many links to the TI finals, similar bracket setup, similar the reverse sweep sort of setup that they got. There were so many things like that, but this time around they had a crowd. And you could see the funniest thing. One of the funniest things that came out of that was Toronto, Tokyo, where are you haters at now, or whatever he said, which I feel like most of the Dota scene just kind of went looked to their left and right and were like,
there's haters? Where?
Where? No, really, where are the haters? Toronto, Tokyo, what do you mean? You guys are the TI winners. But I have to imagine that especially the Eastern European and Russian scenes, that there were probably a lot of nitpicking and saying that they if it was if there was a crowd or something like that they wouldn't have been performed the same, and that was obviously something that they actually rode the crowd energy really, really well. Granted, it was a crowd that was going to be very favorable to them, so maybe they wouldn't have been able to ride that same kind of energy in China or something like that, or Southeast Asia, where it would be a little bit more even.
Some people were starting USA chants for Spirit, and I genuinely wanted to melt into a puddle. I wanted to find them and be like, no, bad, stop, bad.
Yeah, I felt that way too. Whenever the USA chants, people would ask me to sign flags. I was just kind of
I'm not super proud about the American thing right now, buddy.
Do you know the flag code? You're not actually supposed to sign a flag, right? I don't know. It's just that stuff always makes me feel a little bit weird. I'm like, I'm not a part of that, just to be clear.
There's a couple things that surprised me for the playoff stage.
Yeah.
I didn't expect Aster to come in third. Even with their strong performance, topping Group B.
Yeah, because the playoff choke, they have done time and time again. I mean, their roster is not that different from the previous times where they have choked in these tournaments.
Yeah, they beat they lost to Spirit in the upper bracket, and then they proceeded to beat Entity and NOG 2-1 for both those series. And I'm like, okay, yeah, cool, good series. And they did take a game in the best 3 off Spirit in the lower bracket finals too. So they were definitely performing. They showed up. They worked. But I wasn't quite believing what I was seeing. I was still more impressed with RNG, honestly, even though they didn't do that well.
Yeah, I mean, they ran into Outsiders, which was pretty rough. But then Outsiders ended up losing to Beast Coast, and I thought they were going to go pretty far in the lower bracket, to be honest. I really believed that they were going to do pretty decently well, but then they didn't. And then that cost them a ticket to TI, which we didn't know until just an hour ago or something.
We got off the plane in Los Angeles. This happened while during our 3-hour flight, and again, Blitz and I were on the same plane. I had a row to myself, by the way. It was a packed plane. The only 3 empty seats on the plane were my row, and I laid down and I watched Lightyear on my phone. I laid down in the entire row, like full back to see. It was great, best flight of my life. I got off the plane and Blitz is like, dude, did you see what happened to Outsiders? And I'm like, well, are they okay? What are you talking about? They're probably not okay. Look at Twitter and see all the discourse going on for Valve correcting the DPC math. Basically, if you would to look at the DPC standings, which most people would do on Wikipedia, because it is what I would say is a reliable source.
It is the most reliable source in Dota 2, period, for almost everything. They're very rarely wrong about anything, and Valve is probably wrong about stuff on their own site. Sorry, Valve, but you're wrong you are wrong probably 10 times more often than Wikipedia is. So it's not really surprising that people trust Wikipedia at this point.
Yeah, the tool that was being referenced on the broadcast and by like everybody to see where people are at DPC points. It was really interesting because at the end of the major, well, at the end of losers round 1, once everything was like really decided for TI placements anyways, Outsiders was beating Fnatic by 0.05 DPC points to make it past the bubble into the 12th seed. That is a crazy story. That's not even winning by 1 point. That is winning by 1/20th of a point by the math that has been done and shown all season. And then my understanding of this, and I guess asterisk, this could be like the lightest bit wrong, but my current understanding of it is that when Valve was crunching the numbers to the site, they realized that the math that was being done online and the narrative was incorrect, and once they applied their math, Fnatic had 1 more point than Outsiders. And that is a result of everybody in the previous system was just rounding up decimal places and keeping those partial points from the like percentage loss of switching players and not going to majors and what have you. Where so we were rounding on Wikipedia and Valve was truncating.
I don't think we were rounding at all. I think they were literally just adding points straight up.
So there's no rounding.
I don't think Valve gives any partial points. Was the whole, which is what truncating is.
So they truncated the decimal, and when you do that, Fnatic has 1 more point than Outsiders.
Yeah, because I think from 2 different situations, basically they lost less than because obviously if you just 1200.005, you take out the decimal, okay, then you're tied. Then it's a head-to-head situation. What for the life of me, then I just like, this just doesn't really make sense. Maybe this is some information that like I don't know about, but I don't know how public it is that like I'm reading some of the stuff. Like Knoxville is the one person who's like been the most vocal about this entire thing, and I don't know like how thorough or how public this whole like point system has been exactly. Like people point to like, oh, if you look at this exactly, like again, like Valve Science has been wrong about things before. The thing that I just can't like really figure out is that like, why would you do that? Why would you do that exactly? Because then you're more likely to have, if you take away these decimal points, aren't you more likely to have a tie? And isn't that exactly what you want to avoid? Like, don't you want to avoid having some sort of like head-to-head, like, okay, now we have to go through the tiebreaker rules situation? Like, I feel like that just like doesn't make any sense to me. Like, why wouldn't you just keep all the decimal points just to like make it as clean, I guess, as possible, and like who's actually going?
I think that
just makes sense to me. I don't know.
I think that there is some level of rounding that was happening and the stages that they rounded at. There is a Reddit thread that I have not fully digested that does try and break it down, and it looks like people are like, okay, that makes sense. But it feels like the ultimate issue here is that there was not like a publicized formula of how Valve intended to calculate the point deductions, and people made like the most common sense assumption of what it could be, and they were off by some kind of nuance that is not the way that was intended. And that nuance
also, this
was the
had been
difference in a
talked about
point.
the entire time. Like everybody was posting these numbers on Reddit. It was being talked about on the broadcast. Did nobody watching that? Like it's a major in America, so I have to imagine like it's up on the Valve offices somewhere. You know, like I have to imagine because they got screens that just have like streams and shit going on. Like I have to imagine it's there. Like did that trigger anybody? Like. Nobody wanted to like slide into some talent or production person's DMs and be like, yo, you guys are talking about these Liquipedia rankings. Not good. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, and like, shouldn't this stuff also be known to like the players and the teams? Like, shouldn't it be clear enough that like outsiders and Fnatic should know when they're playing, what they're playing for? Because like outsiders then just played their Beast Coast match, and I believe they already, if they believe the Liquipedia rankings anyway, I have no idea what outsiders' opinions on all of this has been, but if they believed what everybody else was going off of, they played that series thinking that they were already NTI.
It's fucked. It's fucked. My assumption, and I guess that the point of this exercise is that we probably shouldn't be assuming, right? When should you ever be? But this is probably a bad time too, anyways. Is Valve probably assumed that Wikipedia was right until they ran the numbers themselves?
Yeah, I guess so.
That's my most plausible situation, I think.
The funniest part is that they put out this tweet and they talk about people using unofficial sources, which just kind of like makes me laugh. It was like some like, you know, this little bit of like shade thrown at like Liquipedia, one of the most important sites in Dota 2 period. And then they also like link standings, and apparently when people clicked on the standings, it was totally empty. They're like, if you just look at our standings and there was nothing there, that was pretty funny. That was a funny little thing that happened. I enjoyed that quite a bit. Slacks made a nice little meme out of it.
Does all of like Russia and CIS just hate Fnatic now? Do Fnatic get like an unfair shake here? From like a whole potential region who is kind of grumpy about this? Because I think being grumpy is probably valid, right?
Listen, I don't think there's a whole lot to do with Fnatic. I'm pretty sure that this is going to whip up some conspiracy stuff like the West hating on Russia again. Look at us. You think Virtus Pro isn't going to run with some we've been canceled once again, boys? You don't think they're going to come up with some
called
really
Jimmy Ho. He has a
PR shit?
Someone called Demon. He knows what it's like to be canceled too, okay?
Yeah, Jimmy's going to respond to one of those Knoxville tweets and just be like, see, facts and logic are on our side.
What a drive-by. That's so punching down. You deserve to fuck him. I was actually, that was one of the first things I thought about is like, oh man, people are going to think this is like a conspiracy theory, right? Because like outsiders and VP and Russia and everything, right? That's almost certainly that's already happening, probably. I don't know for sure. I haven't seen it, but there's no way that that's not happening, and people aren't going to be permanently convinced that it is some Illuminati bullshit.
Yeah, I just imagine we haven't heard anything because the players are probably literally on a plane still right now. I mean, people are coming back in America and they're back to another spot in America and getting out of the plane right now and figuring it out, you know? Like those outsider players, they're probably sitting on the plane right now and somebody has a Wi-Fi and somebody's just like, what the fuck is going on right now?
They got onto a plane being, guys, we're going to Singapore. And they're getting off the plane going, guys, we have to play qualifiers. Which, man, crazy.
I mean, given the span, like, I honestly feel like Outsiders is a shoe-in for one of the 2 spots
3
going to TI. 3? What?
Every region's qualifiers has 3 spots, right? 1 goes directly to TI, and then 2 go to last chance qualifiers.
Oh, it's 2
and
go
then
to
last chance
qualifier?
qualifiers is a 12-team tournament for 2 seats into TI.
I thought there was only 1 spot for. I thought it was 1 last chance qualifier spot and
no, top 3.
Spot.
Well, I've talked to a lot of people about this who are like, okay, so there's Secret and there's Nigma and there's Liquid and there's Entity, and one of those teams is not going to Singapore.
Wow. Okay, so there's going to be 2 teams. So I know 2 teams come from the last chance qualifier. There's going to be 2 teams out of 12?
Correct.
Oh, wow.
It'll be a 12-team tournament for the last 2 TI spots.
Huh. Shows how little I pay attention to this stuff. Honestly, I hate format stuff. I just all I care about is like who's matching up against who. What are the storylines there?
I think it's super hype. I also think it is just like easy peasy slots for China and C.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like most of these teams that like just barely, squeak by and did or did not make it, I feel like the ones that didn't make it are pretty secured for the qualifiers. I don't really think. I thought they were secured when there's only 2 spots. 3 spots? That's easy as hell. Maybe the last chance qualifier is going to be difficult, but to be honest, like if you're not good enough to get through the last chance qualifier, you're probably not good enough to do well enough at TI to like. Who gives a fuck,
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you're one of these teams who are trying to qualify off of points, if you're an Evil Geniuses and Outsiders, if you're one of those, like, you're trying to place top 4. You're trying to win TI. You're not trying to just, like, barely make it and get 15th. So.
See, I think the last chance qualifiers are going to be lit, right? Because,
oh, yeah.
Hear me out. This is what's going to be important, right? Out of Southeast Asia, there's going to be 3 spots. Talon and T1 almost certainly have. One of those 2 teams is going to be in the last chance qualifiers, plus another C team that is also good. In China, you're almost certainly going to have RNG or Extreme Gaming in the last chance qualifiers. Also really, really good. Extreme was going to be at the major, but they dropped out. Eastern Europe, whatever. South America, North America, whatever. Western Europe, you're going to have, in the last chance qualifiers, some mixture of, most likely, Liquid, Entity, Secret, Nigma. 2 of those 4 teams, almost certainly in last chance qualifiers. So you're talking about a tournament for 2 TI spots that's going to have 2 solid Western Europe teams, 2 solid Chinese teams, and at least 1 really scary Southeast Asian team.
It does make it so now that... It does make, I think, the qualifiers a lot less interesting. Just because I feel like there are, like, the teams that people care about are probably secured. For like, if they're not actually in TI itself, at least the last chance qualifier. Which, considering it's in Singapore and stuff, like, it feels like you're going to TI, you know? So, I don't know. It does make the qualifiers less hype. But, I mean, I'm still going to cast them one way or the other. One way or another. I think probably on my channel.
I think that they got moved back a little bit too. So we're looking at September 10th is when they start ish.
Oh, okay.
That's
nice.
last I heard.
It gives a little bit more time off of ESL 1 that's coming up, which was I guess the other short topic. It's that got announced. I'm going.
You're going. I saw your name on a talent list.
Yeah, I haven't been blacklisted. Not yet. Can't blackball me yet. No, I'm going. I'm going with Avery as well. Looks like they've got 3 play-by-play or 3 casting duos. So that means we should be able to get a good amount of casting in. I don't think I'll actually have to do... Like, I probably will do some panel, but I don't think I'll have to, like... You know, that thing that usually happens where it's like, okay, like I'm doing panel like half or over half of the time and casting not so much. So I'm really looking forward to that, especially with the crowd, especially in Southeast Asia. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to the event because I need to see some teams try and build some momentum up for these qualifiers.
Yeah, what teams are those, Joey? You talking about Alliance?
Yeah, they I think they're gonna do great, and Nigma, and Entity, and Talon, and Thunder Awaken. I didn't get to, I didn't get to meet Because, because he didn't go to the other events. So like I need him. I think I'll go meet him at TI. Need more Southeast Asian representation.
You know what the weird part with that whole like entity was doing super well, and they were doing a nice little lower bracket run and stuff like that. Even though they didn't have their carry, was the fact that they couldn't qualify for TI even if they won that major. It seems kind of weird, but also like that is kind of the point. It almost makes me wonder if you need to like split up points. Like if you win the major, you're just automatically invited. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But then what's the point of like then winning multiple majors makes that weird? I don't know. But it did make me think about the point system. I don't really envy Valve in that regard of having to balance the point system to get incentivized teams to like play for all of them. But simultaneously not make it so some weird scenario like that stands out where a team like Entity, who didn't participate in any other didn't get any other DPC points besides qualifying for that major and playing in that major, couldn't go even if they won, You
know what sucks for Entity?
Yeah, what's that?
I think their team's gonna get blown up after TI because people are gonna just pull all these players apart.
Yeah, probably. I think Stormstormer is like a pretty hot commodity, if like totally outsider perspective. But from my eye test, I would say his performance on land was spectacular. He's pretty young. He is also like a great representative for any brand. Like he would be like immediately, I would want to pick him up if I am somebody like Alliance or like that is a player that I would want to build a roster around.
I liked watching him play during the event. I was thinking, man, this guy might be like one of the best. He might be the best mid in this tournament right now.
He was carrying that team really hard, yeah.
He was crushing it. And then I got to meet him. He was watching the Liquid games with us. And honestly, nothing but like great vibes and positive things to say about him. Totally chill dude. Nice, informative, like humble, just like talk to anybody. I think that after meeting him, you just kind of like know like, oh, this person probably has a bright future. Gameplay aside, I think that Stormer stocks are something you should all invest in.
Yeah, definitely agree. I mean, between him and then Saberlight killing it at the major as well, it does give me some hope for the future of Dota, because I think players like that are like very important to keep people's interest in the game as it starts getting older and older, and the player base starts drifting and stuff like that. That people come back because some of these, we talked about how the old personalities and old players are going to go away, and you need these new guys to be compelling because they won't have the same stories. Like when you were no life in it at 18 watching Kuro and like you were just building up in your head what he's like, because there was no like interviews and stuff going on back then. Like you just like fell in love with this player. But like you get older, you need a reason to really buy into a player, and I think some of these guys like Saberlight and Stormstormer are really giving you good reasons to keep watching.
I like it. I've become a Stormstormer fan.
Yeah,
I've become a Stormstormer fan.
Well, I have heard nothing but high praise in my interactions with him. He seems like a very sweet guy, so that just kind of continues, I guess.
Well, I'm also, I guess now we just kind of look ahead. You're probably leaving to Malaysia sometime before we need to record next. So what are you there for? Like a week?
I'll be there for 10 days.
10 days.
So, yeah.
So we'll do
we can record another podcast maybe right before I leave.
Maybe, yeah. We'll figure that out. There might be the next show might be post Malaysia or shooting the shit pre Malaysia. TBD. Tune in and find out next week ish, and maybe asterisk.
That sounds about right for a side pole podcast.
We're professionals. Anything else you want to touch on before I toss over to Patreon questions?
No, I think that's it.
Good. Well, okay, so speaking about being professionals, if you want to fund this professional endeavor, you can go ahead and do that over on patreon.com/sidepole, which multiple of you do who I met in person in Texas. And again, thank you. Thank you. I don't know how to say it anymore. Thank you. Truly. Made me feel really good. And if you are a patron, sometimes every time at the end of the show, we read a question that was submitted by one of y'all, and we answer it because that's what questions need. Q's need A's.
All right, this is a controversial one.
Oh, no.
In your opinion, what is Dota going to look like in 10 years? The game, the esports scene, the players' dead game, or an Olympic esport? From Marcin Rojek. I'm sure I got your name wrong, but I tried.
Okay, this is tough for me.
I feel like Dota, more than any other game, I think is riding that edge. But I think more likely. So I think there are some games going on right now that are going to be not like evergreen, but they're going to go on in sort of an Olympic esports type. And I think League of Legends is one of those. I think League of Legends is like kind of secure in the fact that it has a big enough player base and it keeps on getting new players, even if it's not like maybe making the same numbers and stuff like that. It's still getting the next generation that I think it'll just like. It'll still be there. It'll still be a thing. It probably won't be the biggest esport. It won't be the biggest esport anymore. But I think it'll still be there. I think Dota's kind of riding that edge, and I think it might slip over to the other side. Not that it's like not dead esport, but I think more like StarCraft 2 type esport. Where StarCraft is right now, they still have events and stuff like that, but like most people aren't watching. Right, it's not really like in people's view. When you're talking about the mainstream of esports, people aren't watching that. I think Dota, Dota has like a hardcore enough community that I think it'll take an extremely long time to die, and it's possible it even goes through some revitalization. But I have a feeling that it's not going. I think you actually need the developer to like keep the game going to like the next stage of esports, because I think we are going to hit a next stage of esports, and 10 years maybe sounds like a reasonable time to start looking at that next phase. And I think you need the developer to keep it going real strong before you get to that next phase.
I heard a rumor at PGL Arlington Major in Texas over the weekend that Valve claims that they want 50 years of Dota.
I mean, if they want to do that, I'll be here for it.
Eventually, we'll be old, like close to like 70s old.
Well, I mean, 50 years in total, or 50 more years of Dota?
50 years in total. Say we're down 10. Add 40 to your age, and then oh boy, yeah. we're probably taking a lot of pills.
You look at some of those NBA broadcasters and baseball commentators and stuff. That's their age. They're in their 50s, 60s, 70s. So I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind still being able to do this at that age. But if I'm to be like perfectly blunt about it, I'm not sure how much I'm going to bank my career on that idea. Like, I'm going to keep doing Dota no matter what, but I definitely don't feel that like I don't feel like I can keep doing this full time forever. And then I definitely need to be able to find something else that is my like mainstream of income, and then be able to hopefully have the flexibility to keep doing Dota on the side. Like that would be the ideal. But I mean, if they keep it going, I'll be very happy with that.
I think that I am going to be playing and watching Dota into my 40s.
Also, there's rumors going around about a new Valve game. Have you seen this?
I don't know anything about that.
There's the Valve network, whatever that guy is.
He who shall not be named.
Whatever his freaking name is, he put out a thing about a new game, and I don't know, that makes me wonder, like, if that game is a success. Unlike,
don't say it. 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 Don't say it.
That which shall also not be named. The game that shall not be named. Like, if it is a success, I can't imagine there's like a ton of people that like will want to stick with Dota. Probably want to move on to like something that's new and exciting within the Valve
hip
scene, you know? Yeah. But I mean, like, I also trust there are some developers and stuff in Valve that are as hardcore Dota fans as we are. So there's somebody who will keep the game going.
I am going to play Dota into my 40s. I anticipate that's going to be the case.
That sounds like a terrible life decision. Listen, watch Dota until your 40s, but like playing Dota...